Casey, was it worth it?
Casey, does it bother you that Vicky's dead? Who's the mastermind behind your escape? How much thought did you put into this? Casey, did you think you were going to get away? Where do you think you're going tonight?
It was just about 3 hours or so when sheriff's officials in Alabama realized that a capital murder suspect and the senior jail official had made a break for it. When she said she had taken him for a mental health evaluation and disappeared, Sheriff Rick Singleton quickly called in the U.S. Marshals. At first, law enforcement officials believed that the suspect, Casey White, might have kidnapped Vicky. Vicky, of course, the Assistant Director of Corrections for Lauderdale County. She was a 17-year veteran of the sheriff's office. But they quickly learned that her cover story was phony. The mental health evaluation was made up, and a manhunt began. Now, there was no relation between the two. That was some information that had come out as well, but no relation whatsoever. U.S. Marshal Marty Keely sprung the Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force into action. The fugitive hunters hit the streets, and they quickly started gathering leads. Keely's account of the 11-day manhunt is what we're going to talk about today. This is the most detailed and comprehensive account to date of what happened during those 11 days. The task force received its first lead early in the investigation when a fellow jail worker reported that Vicky White had called them earlier that morning and had asked for a pickup at the Academy Sports in Florence. White said she had locked her keys in her car and needed a ride to work. The employee thought that it was, fairly strange, but wanted to help out a friend. In the parking lot of the sporting goods store, investigators would later find Vicky White's patrol car. It's the same vehicle in which she had left the sheriff's office only hours earlier with a handcuffed Casey White in the back seat. According to the marshal, it was also where surveillance video showed she had staged a getaway vehicle, an orange Ford Edge she had purchased just days before the escape, of course in cash. It was at this point that investigators interviewed family members, co-workers. They examined financial records, and they learned from other inmates that Vicky White and Casey White had what they termed a special relationship. Casey and the two were involved in a jailhouse romance. Weeks before the escape, she sold her home for $95,000, far below the market value. She sold her car, and she filed for retirement. The marshals also said she had bought an AR-15 and a shotgun to add to her 9mm service weapon and a .45 caliber pistol investigators believed that she had possession of. Other clues had also emerged. She bought men's clothes at a local Kohl's store. She had also visited a store that sold sex toys. They learned Vicky White had left the jail with Casey White previously in what investigators were saying was a trial run, where they had left for about 40 minutes. The hunt was on for the two. They thought that it would be made easier. The fact of Casey White's height and overall build, but they had no idea that the duo had already made it out of state and were nearly 200 miles away. Tips flowed into the Marshal Service and sheriff's officials, but nothing panned out. Until a tow truck driver in Tennessee called that he had towed the Ford Edge 3 or 4 days earlier, and it was still in his tow yard. The task force investigators rushed north to Williamson County, Tennessee. They had the right car, but the next question was, where was Vicky and Casey? Authorities scoured rural Tennessee looking for clues showing photos of Vicky and Casey. They looked at campsites. They looked at abandoned buildings. Finally, they came across a home with a few cars and trucks for sale on the lawn. The homeowner instantly recognized a photo of Casey White, and he helped authorities piece together what exactly had happened. He told investigators he sold a Ford F-150 pickup truck for cash. The truck didn't have license plates, but that Casey White had been insistent that it didn't matter. He said, "Yeah, I sold him a truck." And so we learned that he sold a truck that same day that they had escaped from the Lauderdale County Correctional Facility. And it was just a few hours after they had escaped. Finally, law enforcement was starting to piece together a timeline. During the sale, a woman in an orange Ford pulled up, and the two drove off trailing one another. And the homeowner provided one more clue, and it turned out to be a big one. the pickup truck's VIN number. The two abandoned the Ford Edge and they made their way to Evansville, Indiana, where Casey White eventually abandoned the pickup in the bay of a car wash. In Evansville, investigators believe the two had paid a homeless man to use his identification to rent them a hotel room, paying cash up front for a 14-day stay. They were living under the assumed alias in the motel and acquired a third car, a Cadillac sedan. The manager of the car wash first noticed the abandoned pickup truck sometime on May 3rd and realized something was amiss when it was still there the next morning. He called the police and an officer came, ran the license plates, took a report, and left. The car wasn't stolen, and to the local police there was really nothing they could do at that point. A break, however, would come Sunday because the officer had written the VIN in a report. U.S. Marshal Keely spotted it as they checked databases. The fugitive team descended on Evansville, working with fellow deputy marshals in the Indiana area. Surveillance video from the car wash showed the Cadillac, and the task force investigators began driving around, checking out motels and restaurant parking lots. Luckily, the hotel in question was just a mile from the sheriff's office. Finally, they found the car in the motel parking lot and they placed it under surveillance. Vicky White soon emerged in a wig alongside the 6'9" Casey White. They hopped in the Cadillac and drove off with the marshals secretly tailing them, but the officers were seen. This is what led to the brief chase that ended when the officers rammed the car. The Cadillac flipped over and at some point, Vicky White shot herself in the head, according to authorities. As the officers pulled from the wreckage, Casey White blurted out, "Please help my wife. She just shot herself in the head." It wasn't clear why he referred to Vicky as his wife. Investigators quickly cuffed him and started rendering aid to Vicky as medical crews rushed to the scene. The manhunt was over. Sheriff's officials in Indiana said the two had about $29,000 in cash left, 4 handguns, and the AR-15. Vicky White was pronounced dead at the hospital, and Casey White was returned Tuesday night to Florence, Alabama, where he is expected to face additional charges in addition to the murder case and the 75-year prison sentence he was already serving for attempted murder and other charges. If convicted in the murder trial, he could face the death penalty. He told investigators that he was prepared to have a shootout with police when he was captured. An attorney representing him in his murder case, Jimmy Pass, declined to comment. Police would say that this case was solved through just boots on the ground. Good police work. And that's what Sheriff Rick had said the entire time would end this case.